Hi guys, welcome back to today. I'm doing a crash course on Foundation. Now Foundation is a CSS responsive framework that makes every website available on mobile, tablet, and desktop devices. My name is Shadow, and I'm going to be showing you guys today how to implement a CSS responsive framework called Foundation. Now for this tutorial, I'm using specifically Foundation version 6 made by Zerb. Let's get straight into the crash course. I'm going to go to Google or your browser and you're going to type in foundation.zerb.com. It should bring you to this website. If it doesn't look like this, it might have been outdated. So we're going to go ahead and click download. We're going to download the complete because it just gives us everything. Click download. It should give you a zip file down here. Now you're going to go to your desktop and you're going to right click, go to new folder, and you're gonna name, I'm gonna name this Foundation. You can name it whatever you want. And go back to your browser and go to your Foundation download file. Click extract all, click browse, go to desktop, click Foundation, click select folder, and then click extract. And what that does is basically takes all the files that we just downloaded and put it into our desktop file called Foundation. And we come down here and we read a little bit about it and how it works. And down here and it shows sites and emails. You can also do Foundation for emails, but for this tutorial we're just going to do sites. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to go over to Getting Started, then you're going to click Sites, Kitchen Sink, and you should be in this giant long list called Kitchen Sink. Now, Kitchen Sink is every element available in Foundation, all on one page. As you see, if you scroll down, there's tons of stuff you can put onto it. And we're going to go through all of it. What you're going to want to do now is you're going to want to go down to your editor. I'm using Atom in this example. And you're going to want to click Open a Project. And we're going to select on Foundation. And it should bring us... Okay, so what we get is this large HTML file, pretty long. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to delete everything out of the body tags. Keep the body tags, but delete everything inside of the body tags except for the JavaScript. And you should be left with this. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to build some simple form validation inside of Foundation. Now, we're going to just start off with some form tags. So we're going to go like that. We're going to write form just like that. We're going to put some JavaScript data values in here. So we're going to put data-abide and no validate. So we're going to put a div inside of here. We're going to give it a class called grid-x and grid-margin-x. Now inside of that div, we're going to put another div and we're just going to give it a class of cell. We're going to make another div. We're going to give it a class called alert callout. We're going to give it a style display none. We're going to go back and we're going to add some JavaScript values. Data-abide-alert. Okay, so next you're going to make another div and you're going to call it, you're going to give it a class of grid X and grid margin X. And it's the same thing as this one up here. It's just how Foundation sorts out its their divs. You're going to put another div in here. You're going to give it a class called cell small-12. And what you're going to do next is inside of this div, you're going to put a label. And you're going to put number required. Now you're going to write an input tag and set the type to text or keep it as text. And then put a placeholder of 1, 2, 3, 4 since we are validating numbers and we want the user to know what kind of input to put. And then you're going to put something called area dash describe by. I'm gonna set it equal, and inside these you're gonna put example help text. Make sure you capitalize the last two in camel case. Next, you're gonna put a required pattern. So you're gonna type in required, and then you're gonna put a space and then pattern, and you're gonna set it equal to number. And then you can just take out this name and value. It's not needed inside of there. Now next, you're gonna make a span, and you're gonna give it a class of form-error. And inside of this, you can basically put whatever you want for when the user misspells something or something. So you can say, yo, you forgot something in your form, like that. So when there's an error message, it'll just give you this. This is basically the error message. And after this span, make sure you close out the label. And after that label, you can put a paragraph tag and give it a class of help text. So we're gonna put class help dash text and save it. And then you're gonna give it an ID of example help text, and make sure you camel case those. And then next, you're gonna put whatever you want, however you want to help the user. So I'm gonna put, here is how you fill it out, and then just save it. It's whatever help text you really want to put into it. Okay, so next you're gonna want to make a div. You're gonna give it the class, the same one as the one up here. You can just copy it and paste. Save it. You're gonna put a label, and you're just gonna put password required. And then after that, you're gonna put an input, and you're gonna put the type as password. Make sure the label is outside on the very end. Make sure you add an ID and set it to password. And you can set the placeholder to whatever you want, as long as it looks like a password. So like let's say if this was a password. And then we're gonna do the same thing we did up here with the area described by. So we're just gonna copy this and paste it down here, and then we're gonna write after it required. And we could take out these name and values because we don't need them. And after that, we're gonna put a span and add a class to it. And in that class, we're gonna call it form error, and then we're just gonna put I'm required. Make sure your span and label end after that. If you want, you can indent them. And after the span and label, we're gonna put a paragraph tag. We're gonna give it the class as help text. And then we're gonna give them the ID as example help text, camel cased. Inside of this, we're gonna put enter a password, please. Now, if you open it up in your browser, the HTML file, you see you get these two input fields in here. Now, if you're to type in something other than numbers, let's say ABC, and press enter, it's gonna say, yo, you forgot something. And if you go to this password area and you just press enter, it's gonna say I'm required. So it basically validates your form to make sure there's an input. Now these are just placeholders, but other than the placeholders, it's pretty much empty. And you press enter and it says I'm required. And if you put letters inside of the numbers, it's gonna say you forgot something in your form. So that's just some simple form validation for numbers and passwords. You can always just change it. As you see in the code, it's pretty much a pattern up here. And we can even add a comment right here. You just say error message / valid right here, and this is basically what validates it. And then down here is the number validate, and then after that there's the password validate. And basically what you can do is you can copy any of these and just change the classes and stuff. You can always check the foundation website too. It'll also tell you how to change it. But these are just some simple form validation for foundation. Okay, so up next is the accordion menu, or just the accordion. And so we're just gonna add a comment down here. We're just gonna call it and just gonna tab it down here. So basically what we're gonna first do is put it in an unordered list, and we're gonna put a class up here. We're gonna call it accordion, and then we're gonna put a data value called data-accordion. Inside of here we're gonna put a list item tag, and then we're gonna give it class name called accordion item is active, and then we're just going to give it a JavaScript value called data accordion item. After that we're going to put a link, so we're just going to type in a, and anchor tag. We're going to give it a class, and we're going to give it the class called accordion title. We're just going to call this one accordion 1, and then after that we're gonna put a div. We're gonna give this one a class called accordion -content, and then we're gonna give it a JavaScript value called data-tab-content, and then after this we're gonna put a paragraph tag, and we're gonna give it a class. Next, we're going to put a paragraph tag, and we're just going to say hello world for this one. And then we're just going to put a link, and we're just going to put link in it. And it's just going to be an empty link. Now, if we go to our website and reload, we get this little panel right here. But as you see, there's only one. So we're going to go back into our code and copy and paste it so we get more accordions. So see, we're back in here, and we're going to copy and paste all of this. Actually, we're only going to copy and paste what's inside of the list item. We're just going to do it 3 times. And then at the end, you're just going to put the closing tag for the unordered list. And then if you go back to your code, you see here you can minimize each tab. So it's like an accordion, and you can open them up by going like this. It's pretty cool. So we're going to customize it a little bit more. So instead of this being panel 1, we're going to put panel 2. We're going to take out this dummy text, and we're going to call this one panel 2, this one back to panel 1, this one panel 3. We're going to take out all this dummy text. And now if we go back to it, we reload, we get all of these where it's like this, and we can customize it even more, changing these and saving it, and then we reload, and you see you get it all organized with its content inside of it. So accordion 1, panel 1, they're just empty links. and you can open up each one and it gives you a new panel. Now up next are something called badges. Badges are an interesting kind of element inside of Foundation. So I'm just gonna show you what they are. So let's just put a comment saying badges. And we're gonna make a span tag. We're gonna give it a class. We're gonna call it primary badge. And inside of that, we're just gonna put the letter A as capitalized so we can view it. And if you go over to your browser and you click reload, you see down here, down in the bottom left corner of your screen, you should see the letter A and tied up inside of a little circle. Now, we can copy this code and make another version of it. Instead of primary, we can do something called secondary. Secondary badge, and then we can just put a B. But go back to the page and reload. You get this gray badge down here. Now I've added a div that has a margin bottom of 200 pixels just so you guys can view the badges easily. Now if we go down here and make another span or copy and paste it, instead of primary or secondary, we're going to do warning. And then we're going to put this one with a C, save it, go to your web page, and click reload, and you'll get a yellow one with the letter C inside of it. Now if you go back to your code, make another one. There's also another class called alert and alert badge and success badge. And if you reload, you see you have all different colors of badges. And the purpose of a badge is kind of like when something goes successfully or some sort of warning, it shows up this badge next to like some words saying your form did not validate, and it has a red badge to it. It can signify something about your form or about something you're trying to fill out. These are also just great little decorations, but if I zoom out to normal, you can almost barely see them. And I don't know why that is. I don't think it's meant for reading. I think it's meant just for the color and for signifying that something's not correctly filled out. So up next we have buttons, and we're just gonna start off by putting a comment saying buttons, or just button. We're gonna start off by obviously making a button, and we're gonna keep the type as button, but we're gonna take away the name of the button because we don't need the name. And then we're gonna give it a class called button. Now if you look at your website and you reload it, you see down here you get an empty blue box. That's because you have to put text inside of it. So we're just gonna put button, and if you go back and reload, you see you have a button down here. Now I'm gonna add that padding back in here. Just so that we can so you can see it clearly. We reload, as you see it's down here. Now you can give each button a type of class that changes the color or look of the button. So for example, if we copy this, paste it, and put second or success button, and you reload, it gives you a blue button. If we were to paste it again and say alert button with a space and reload it, you would get a red one. You can also do the same for sizing. So you can do tiny button and it gives you a tinier button. Or you could do a large button. It'll give you even bigger button. And you can even do things like expanded button. So if we go to the class and put expanded button and reload, you see it takes up the whole width of the screen. You can also have a small button too, so it's in between the tiny and large button. So if you just put small button and you reload, you get this medium-sized button. And these are basically all the buttons. Obviously they're not linked to anything because we didn't put a hyper reference into here. But you can link these to different things, such as a success page or an error page. Take up the whole bottom of a portfolio object, or you can just have different sizing buttons and colors. They all have automatic hover, and whenever it's like a green button or a black button, it'll turn to white text or black text. So next, we're going to do something called callouts. Now, callouts are like little messages that show up on your screen. They're not really messages, they're more like sections. So I'm going to show you what they are and how they're useful. Now we're going to just put a comment like always, and we're going to just call this callout, and then just indent it here. And then we're going to make a div, and we're going to have the class as callout. We're going to put an H5. And we're just going to say hello world. And then we're going to put a paragraph tag. And we're just going to say this is a call out. We're going to save it. And, you know, just for fun, we're going to put a link. And we're just going to say link. Now, if we go to our browser, you see down here we have a call out. It's just a simple little section that we have. It says hello world. This is a call out and a link, which does nothing. But what we can do with it is we can change it. So let's copy this. And we're gonna set actually just copy the call out part, not the margin. We're gonna do call out warning. And it gives us this yellow call out. Now we can do this for success and alert too. So if we do call out success and call out alert and we reload, you get the green one and the red one, which are just basically like the buttons and the badges, success and warning. Now there's also a secondary one that shows the gray. If we put call out secondary, we save it, we reload, you get this grayish kind of one. Now another thing too about this is there's also a primary one where you can set it back to its default called call out primary. And if you save it and you reload, you get back to this blue one. There's a difference between just call out and call out primary and secondary. Obviously alert, warning, and success are completely different, but you always have to watch out for these class changes. So in Foundation, there's things called close boxes or just closeouts. What you can basically do with them is you can add them to callouts, for example, and you can be able to close out of a callout and wipe it from your screen. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add a data value after your class called data-close Ibble. Then after that, you're going to want to add a button. So just type in button, and you can keep the type as button, and you can take out the name. You're gonna add a data value to this called data close. You're gonna add an area label before the data close, so area dash label. You're gonna set that equal to you're gonna write close alert. And you're gonna give it a class called close button. And save the file. After this, you're gonna make a span. Inside of the first span tag, you're gonna put area dash hidden, and you're gonna set it equal to true colon, and then save the file. Now you're gonna want to put this span. You're gonna copy it, and then you're gonna put it inside of the close. You're gonna put it inside of the button. And then you're going to save. Now if you go to your website, now if you check your web browser, you should see this little X over here. And when you click it, it just disappears. Now when you reload the page, it obviously comes back because it's not saved into your local data or caches. But there's a way you can do that. But you can basically exit out of any callout you want just by adding those data variables and the classes. Now make sure you do wrap the variables into the div, so make sure there's one large div around the whole thing. Like in here, I added a div, so it would close off the callout. Make sure you put a div so you close out the callout, and the close button, and the span. And yeah, basically that's how you add an exit out button or a close out tab on any callout. Okay, so up next we're gonna do a drop down pane. Now drop down pane is basically where you click the button and it shows a little message below it. These can be used for many things such as errors with badges or panels. You can use this as a little help text. So I'm gonna show you how to do this. So first we're gonna scroll down after all the callouts. We're gonna make a comment. I'm gonna tab it in, and we're gonna call it drop down pane. And save it. And then first we're gonna put a button. We're gonna leave the type alone. We're just gonna take out the name so we don't need it. We're gonna give it a class called button. So class button. This just gives primary button standards. We're gonna put data dash toggle and set it equal to, we're gonna name it to example dash drop down. And now inside of this button, we're just gonna put we're just gonna say toggle drop down. And after this button, we're gonna make a div. And it's gonna have the class drop down dash pane. We're gonna give it the ID of example dash drop down, and then we're gonna give it data dash drop down, and then we're just gonna call this one drop down pane. And if we go to our website, this should be working. And down in the bottom right, you should see this little button saying toggle drop down. Now if you click it and scroll down, you get this little text bubble saying drop down pane. Now if we center this, it works a little easier, and if we add padding, so we're going to do that just to show for a full example. Now we're going to give this, now we're going to put this inside of a larger div, so we're going to put div, we're going to copy all of this inside of here, and we're going to just, we're not going to give this a class, we're just going to do inline styling. We're going to do display flex, and then we're going to do justify dash content center, and text dash align center, and we're just going to add margin 15 pixels. If we save this, this should give it a nice look to it. So as you see, it has pretty good, but we're going to add some more margin to it so that it centers more up. We're just going to say 25. And if you reload, looks nicer. Now if you click it, you get this little text below it saying drop down pane. Now if we want to see the full example, we're gonna add about 50, and then we're just gonna do for margin, we're gonna do margin bottom. That way we get what we want. We reload, we click, it says drop down pane, and we click the button again, it goes away. Just like a help text or an error. So up next is floating classes, and we're going to be floating buttons to left or right. So first we're going to add a comment, and we're going to just say float buttons. We're going to put floating buttons, and then just indent it a little. And then what you're going to do first is just you're going to put button. You're going to take out the type, and you're going to, actually you can keep the type. You're going to take out the name. You're going to add class as just button, and then you're going to put a space and then float dash left, and then you're going to put inside of the button just some text saying float left. And if you go to your browser, you should have a button floating to the left. Now as you see down here, you have a button floating to the left. Also, you don't always have to use just the normal primary button. You can always go like, success button and make it a green button, or even an alert button. So alert button, flip left, and then you can just copy this, and let's say we want this to be a success button, and we're just gonna make it float to the right. We're just going to change the text saying right. We go back to our tab, reload. You have a green button floating on the right and a red button floating on the left. And those are basically the floating classes for buttons. So up next are labels, and labels are basically almost like the badges, but you can actually put a word inside of them and be able to read the word. So I'm going to show you what that is. So we're going to make a comment, and we're just going to put labels and then indent. So what you're going to first want to do is you're going to put a span. You're going to give it a class called primary label, and then inside of that you're going to put primary label, and then you're going to save it. If you go to your browser, as you see at the bottom, you see this little blue thing called primary label. Now if we go back and we copy it, and you could put things like success and just keep pasting it. You can do you copy it and you can paste it. You can put warning. You could put alert, and you can even do secondary. If you save it and go view it in your browser, you see in the bottom left you have all these labels right here, and they're not buttons, so you can't really click on them and expect to go somewhere. They're more like the badges, where they're just there to show you like a message of some sort, but like a very small message, so such as success or virus or hello. So they're kind of useful, but sometimes they're not. So up next we're doing off canvases. Now off canvases are those things you kind of see when you're on mobile devices. So for example, you're trying to look at the menu but you're on your phone. You usually have an off canvas appear, and it's the three little lines that you click on. It opens up a side canvas or an off canvas, and also referred to as off menus or side menus. We're going to learn how to make one of those in Foundation. So first you're going to start off with div tags, obviously. You're going to give it a class called off-canvas-wrapper. And you're going to give it another div, and the class is going to be off-canvas inner. Off-canvas wrapper dash inner. And you're going to save that. You're going to give it the data type, data off wrapper. After this, you're going to put another div, and you're going to give this one a class name of off-canvas position dash left. You're going to add an ID called off canvas left, and then you're gonna add data off dash canvas. And then after all that, we're gonna leave those divs empty for now. After that, you're gonna add a button. You're gonna take out the name, like we usually do. You're gonna give it a class. We're just gonna put it as the button class, or the primary button. And we're gonna add data dash toggle. We're gonna set it equal to off canvas left, and then we're just gonna put in here open, or we're just gonna put off canvas. Forgot to add the comment, so we're just gonna add that really quick. We're just say off canvas. Save it. Now if you go to your browser, you should see this button down here, and when you click it, it gives you this off canvas kind of look, but it has no content inside of that, so we're gonna add that really quick. So over here in these inner divs, all the way into the middle, we're just gonna put an h2 tag, and we're just gonna say hello world, and then we're just gonna put an h4 just saying docs, or we're just put HTML, and then another h4 just saying CSS. Just another one called JavaScript, and save that. Reload, and when we click off canvas, it gives us this little side menu. We can make these links too, just by adding opening and closing tags to the very ends, copying and pasting them. And adding placeholders as hashtags. Save it, and you reload, and now they're links, and you click on them, and it just brings you back to the top of the page. Open it, and these are just links, and this is an off-canvas menu. But when you minimize it, if we inspect and we go to mobile, let's just go to a Google Pixel 2. When we click off canvas, it looks like one of those menus that you would have for a phone. So, and this works on any phone. We can go all the way down to an iPhone 5 SE, and it still works, which are usually the smaller phones. So it's good to know that these still work on all devices. So up next is pagination. Now, pagination is like a type of navigation that hangs out at the bottom, and you can go through multiple pages. Usually at the bottom of product pages or blog pages, you can go through multiple pages without having to navigate through the top navigation bar. I'm going to show you how to do that. So down here, we're just going to make another comment as usual, just so we can divide up our code. We're just going to say pagination bar, indent it a little, and then we're going to start off with an unordered list, give it a class of pagination. We're going to give it a role and set it equal to navigation, and then we're going to put area dash label, and then set it equal to pagination with a capital P. Inside of this, we're going to put a list item. We're going to give it a class called disable. Inside of this, we're going to put previous, and inside of this list item, we're going to put a span tag. We're going to give it a class called show-4-sr, and then we're just going to put page in between this span tag. And we could just close off the ends like that. And then after this, you're going to copy this and paste it below. You're going to change the class name to current. Actually, you're not going to put anything between those. So you're going to take out the previous. You're going to just put you're on page, and then in between the span and the list item, you're just going to put 1. After that, you're going to put another list item. You're just going to put a list item, a link inside of this. You're going to set it to just the hashtag as the placeholder. You're gonna put area label. You're gonna set it equal to page 2. In between, you're gonna just put a 2 between the anchor tag, and then you're just gonna copy and paste this. And you're just gonna change the numbers from 2 to 3 to 4. And you can just take out this last one. We only need to go to 4. You're just gonna change this to 3, 4. So next you're gonna add a list item, and you're gonna give it a class of ellipse. And you're gonna do an area dash hidden equal. You're gonna just do true, and you're just gonna leave this as that. And you're gonna copy just 2 of these, and then you're just put in. For now, we'll just put pages 12 and 13, and we're gonna change this for that. After that, you're gonna copy this item right here. You're gonna paste it. You're gonna set the area label to capital next space page. Make sure the page is not capitalized. And then after that, instead of 13, you're just gonna put next. And then you're gonna copy this span right here. You're gonna paste it after next. Instead of putting you are on page, you're just gonna put page. If you reload your web page, you should get this down here that looks like a little navigation that you would have for a website. And as you see, the disabled class works perfectly with previous, and then you can go on to next pages and stuff, except for we only have 1 page, so it's not going to go anywhere. But we're going to stylize this a little bit more. So if you go to your unordered list, we're going to add a style tag. We're going to say display flex, and then we're going to put justify content, and then we're going to set it to center. And if we go back to our web browser and we reload it, it should be in the middle, just like most web pages would look like. Now Flexbox does work pretty well with Foundation. I haven't found any errors with it. As you can see, I easily centered that div or that unordered list into the middle with no problem. So Foundation does work pretty well with Flexbox. And this is what a pagination looks like on a web browser, and that's how you make it in Foundation. So up next is progress bars. Now, just a disclaimer, in my opinion, Bulma's progress bars are much better than Foundation's, but we're still going to learn them anyway just to see the difference between the two. So let's just go ahead and make them. You're going to go down here, just make a comment. Progress bar. And then down here, you're going to make a div. So you're going to give it a class of primary progress. Save that, and then you're going to go inside. So inside of this div, you're going to make another div, and you're going to put the class name as progress -meter, and then style with 25%. Inside of this, you're going to put paragraph tag. You're going to put 25%. You're going to give this paragraph tag a class. It's going to be progress-meter-text. And this is going to be all there is to your progress bar. Now if you check your browser, you see you have this progress bar in here, and you can customize it even more with the warning and success labels. As here, all we have to do is copy it, and we just put warning progress. When we reload it, we have a yellow one. We do this the same for alert, and we could do this the same for success. And if we reload, you have all these different colors. There is not a secondary one because the background's already gray, so it'd be kind of useless. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between the progress, so they just decided not to have a secondary one. Now the way you change the progress on the bars is you go up to this width styling, and you just change it to whatever percent you want. And then down here in the paragraph, you want to change it to match that. So this primary progress should now be at 50%. Change any of these, so we can change this to 65%. Change this one to 3%. And yeah, basically, if we reload, you have all different types of widths and stuff, and different colors for different types of labeling. And yeah, that's basically it for progress bars. So up next are switches. Now, switches are kind of pointless without a back end, but I'm still going to show you the front end and how they're used in Foundation. So first, we're going to make a comment, right? As always. Not Foundation. Switch. And then we're going to save that. We're going to make a div. We're going to give this a class called tiny switch. We're going to put an input. We're going to give this a class of switch dash input and save it. We're going to give it an ID of tiny switch. And then we're going to change the type from text to check box. And we're going to change the name to example switch. And we can take out the value as well. Now after that, we're going to put a label. We're going to add a class to it. And this one's going to be called switch dash paddle. Save that. And then we're going to put for small switch. We're going to put a span inside of the label. We're going to give it a class. It's going to be show dash for dash sr. And then inside of this, we're going to put small portion only. We're going to capitalize each of these. And this should basically give you a switch. Now, if you go ahead and check your browser, so in your browser, you're going to see this little switch down here, and this is all it does. Kind of misleading, but it still looks cool to play with. Click it a million times if you'd like. With some backend, I guess it'd be kind of cool. You can fill it out as a form. So, like, yes, no, yes, no. Now, you can also add different classes so that you can make them bigger or smaller. So, we're basically going to copy this. We're going to paste it down here. And we're going to change every tiny to small. So, we're just going to go ahead and take every tiny. We're going to go small. And then save it. And if you reload, you have another one that's slightly bigger than the first one. And we can do the same thing and make it bigger. So we're just going to copy this. And we're going to find everywhere where it says small. And the way I'm doing this is I'm holding control while I'm clicking. And then you're just going to backspace and put large. And you're going to save that. And you're going to reload. And you're going to have a very large button or switch. And this is basically how switches work in Foundation. Up next, we're going to make tables. Now, tables look a little different in Foundation, and you'll see why in a minute. But we're just going to go ahead and start making that now. So, obviously, you know the drill. We're just going to make some comment so we can keep organized. And indent. And then you're going to put a table tag, just like that. And then T head or table head. And then we're going to make a table row. Now we're going to make a table header. We're going to give it a width of 200. We're just going to name this table header. And then we're going to do another table header. We're just going to add no width to this and just say table header. Now we're going to copy and paste this one twice. We're going to change this one to 150. We're going to change this one to 150 as well. Now after the table head, we're going to make a table body. And then we're going to make a table row and then table data. And inside of this data, we're going to put just some text, some filler text. So we're just going to say content goes here. And next one, we're just going to do table data lorem ipsum, and we're just going to minimize this down a little bit. So it's not too long. And then we could just copy this one and paste it twice over there. And after that, we're gonna copy this and paste it 3 more times. Or 2 more times. As you see, we have a perfectly made table over here. You see, the first row goes gray or a light gray. The second one goes full white, and then it's a pattern after that. And basically what we did is we made one with a certain amount of width, and basically it organizes it like in a CSS grid so that it goes 1 large and then 2 small ones. And this is basically how a table works in Foundation. So up next is the title bar. Now the title bar is very responsive navigation, usually used on mobile and web apps, or mobile websites when you're designing for mobile first. They usually have the little cutout on the side or the breadcrumbs that you can easily navigate through, and they're very responsive. So I'm going to show you how to make one in Foundation. So just going to make a comment, title bar, like that. Indent, and then you're going to give it a class called title-bar. Inside of there, you're going to make another div, and it's going to be called title-bar-left, because we're going to make it to the left. We're going to put a button. We're going to leave the type as button, but we can take out the name. We're going to give it a class. We're going to call this menu dash icon. We're going to put a span after this. And this is going to have a class called title-bar-left. Inside of here, we're just going to put foundation. And then after that div, inside of the title bar div, but not inside of the title bar left, we're going to make another div. We're going to call this one title-bar-right. We're going to put a button. We're going to take out the name. We're going to put a class in here called menu. I put a dash in between. And this should give you your little title bar. And if you check your browser, you should have this little title bar. Now, you want to obviously put it at the top of your web page so it looks like a title. Now, I added some margins so it looks like it's at the top of the page. It's really not. It's just some margin, but it looks like it's at the top of a page. And this is basically what it looks like. The pages don't do anything, but you can actually connect the off canvas to those to the menu icons, and they can open up side menus, especially if you're on mobile. That can be useful. And this is all responsive. If I were to go like this, it's all responsive. There's not much to respond about, but it's still responsive. If you have actual navigations inside of this black bar right here, it becomes responsive. And yeah, that's basically how you make a navigation / title bar in Foundation. So up next is a tooltip. And a tooltip is like, you'll see them in Wikipedia a lot, and it kind of gives you a general definition of a word that the user might not quite understand right away. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Now we're just going to make a comment. We're going to call this tool tip. And we're going to make a paragraph tag because it is a sentence. And we're just going to put the, and we're going to space it, but we're going to take out that space. Now inside of this paragraph tag, we're going to put a span. Now this span's going to have a data type called data dash tooltip, and then it's going to have area dash has pop up. And we're going to set that equal to true. We're going to set a class to has dash tip. And then we're going to say data dash disable dash hover. We're going to set that equal to false. And then we're going to put tab index, and we're going to set tab index equal to 1. And then we're going to put title fancy word for a beetle. And then this is just another word for a beetle. I just copied and pasted it. And then this is just some filler text I found. Well, we're just going to do lorem ipsum. We're going to save that. And if you go into your browser and you reload, you see down here you get the sentence. And oops, make sure you put a space after the title. Not a space, after the definition word. And if you reload, you get this. And when you hover over it, it says fancy word for a beetle. And it's just a basic definition of what it is. You'll see these a lot on Wikipedia. You can add these to your docs on your website or whatever, and that's how it works in Foundation. So So up next is something called HTML templates in Foundation. Foundation has their own set of templates. They have a total of 8. If you go to foundation.zurb.com/templates.html, you'll find these HTML templates. Now there's a total of 8 and you can download any of them, or you can just watch the demo. They have news, magazines, real estate, e-commerce, blogs, portfolios and product pages, and a few more. These are very helpful if you're just trying to create a portfolio for your business or for getting a job and you don't have too much experience and you just need something to get out there with. Today we're just going to do the portfolio. So you're going to click see demo, and as you see, this is what the portfolio looks like, or the template. And if we right click and click view page source, there's all of this code right here. We're going to click Control A, Control C. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to click Control A and Control V, and you're going to save it. Now the first thing you're going to notice is everything is in one straight line and nothing is organized like we were organizing it earlier. And that's okay. You just need an Atom package, or a package to go along with your code. There's going to be a link in the description. It's an Atom package called Atom Beautify, and this organizes your code just like we were doing with all the indentations and white space. Now you can install this package just by clicking install and open with Atom, and it should install like that. If not, you can install using npm or the apm command line and just install it that way. But it's so much easier if you just click install here. But once you've installed this, you should be able to go to your code and click packages, Atom Beautify, and then click Beautify. What this does is it organizes all the code automatically with all of its indentations and stuff. Now if you go to your file folder and you click your text or your document, you should find this as your document, not the link anymore. And here's where we will reload and edit our website. So we can just minimize out of this, minimize out of that. And the first things we can change is the title. We're going to change this to portfolio. So portfolio, save. We can leave all these links alone. We can leave all these script tags alone. As you see, it just does its own functionality. And you see off canvas, position left, reveal for large. This is what the off canvas looks like in this website, but there's not a button to open it, so it's just always open. So we're going to edit this off canvas first. The height is 100%. And then down here, we're just going to change this to Liam Stockton. Save that. And then this is a little bio, it looks like, right? Yeah, it's a little bio. So I'm gonna copy and paste the bio from my portfolio. So this is my portfolio, and we're just gonna go to about, and I'm gonna just copy this, and then I don't need that anymore. Then we're gonna go down here. I'm gonna paste it into this paragraph tag, and then if we save it and reload, I have my own about down here. Now you can obviously write your own, and you probably should. You can just change the span below to Liam Stockton, save that. Then down here there's a call out primary. And what this call out is this thing up here, and they set the width so that it takes up the entire heading basically. And so we're gonna change this. We're gonna just change this to expand. Expand your creativity. And then it's just gonna have some words down here. We're just gonna change this text to something, whatever you really want. It's gonna come up here, so you just can kind of choose what you want it to say up here. I'm gonna just write some stuff. So I wrote this just little phrase right here, and if we go ahead and reload, you see we get this over here, and now we need to move on to the pictures. So I pulled an image from my my personal images, and I'm gonna just paste it into here, and we're gonna rename this to me, and it's a JPEG file. So down in, or we're gonna go back up to the image. Instead of this right here, we're just gonna do me.jpg. And if we reload, there's a picture of me up here now. Now if as far as these projects go, we need to find images for them. So over here are basically projects. Now, of course, you're not going to have like 12 projects as it's shown here, but you're going to at least have at least 3 or 4 good ones. So we're going to take out some of these. So if we go down here, we're going to look for it. There's all these cells. Okay, so we can take out the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll just take out the first 6 and save it. And we could take out 2 more because it kind of looks weird. Actually, no. We're just gonna copy and paste these 2. Paste them back because we need them. If we reload, you should have only 8. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna fill in these projects. So we're just gonna put we're just gonna put portfolio as a project, and then we're gonna make it a link. The portfolio is one project. We're gonna make this one JavaScript bookmarker. That's another project. And we just replace this pasting, and we're gonna put this one as, let's just say, personal website, or we're gonna do personal blog, and we're gonna say that as a website. And these are just different projects that I'm filling in as. Obviously, you can come up with your own projects. These are just things that I've done. JavaScript calculate. JavaScript calculator. And we're just gonna put one here. We're just gonna put Python keylogger. We need 3 more. WordPress plugins. Actually, we need to make this a link, so we're gonna do WordPress plugins. Down here, we're just gonna put React JS projects. Then down here, we're just gonna do view.js projects. If we reload, you see we have, oops, this one is not a link. Make sure you make them all links, because you want to link to your project, obviously. So we're just gonna do view.js and reload, and you see they're all links. They don't go anywhere. You can put your own link, so I'm gonna just link these. So I've linked some of my personal projects in here. So if we click portfolio, you get to my portfolio. Click JavaScript bookmarker, you get to all my projects. Now what we need to do is add pictures or thumbnails so that they want to click on them. So this is where we go to Google Images. We need to search for portfolio. We need it, so we're just search for portfolio, and then in tools, we're gonna click size, and then exactly 550 by 550, because that's what's over in here, and it even tells you the pixel size. So I found this image. It's not really an image of a portfolio, but it's gonna work for now since it's just a stock image. So we're gonna right click and click copy image address, and then we're gonna put it in for each of these placehold.it pictures. You're just gonna paste it in, and you can even do the control version and just paste it in like that. You do it however you want. It's just how you paste it in and replace the thumbnail pictures with this link that we have. And if we go over and we reload, you see we have a bunch of phones, and this doesn't look very nice. So we're gonna add some variety to it. So we're just gonna keep finding random images, and we're just gonna keep copying the image address and replacing them with different thumbnails. All images will be in the link in the description. I'm just finding random images and clicking copy image address and just pasting them in. That way it doesn't all look the same and we can get some variety to our portfolio. As you see if I reload. Okay, so once you're done copying all these images and finding them, you should have a variety like this. Now, if you want to find these images, you can find them in the description. I found most of them from just Google Images, so it's not that hard to find. But do remember that you have to cite and credit each of these authors. You can't just take these images. You can always put it down in your footer somewhere, but just make sure you credit these people who took the pictures or made the pictures, just so you don't get copyright claimed or even sued. Okay, so after this, you're gonna look at this contact me, and you're gonna want to change the text, obviously, because it's just dummy text. We're gonna go ahead and change the text. So it says contact me, and then we're gonna change out this text. So we're just gonna say contact me through my social media or through the form. I will respond within 72 hours, or we're just gonna say 24 hours. So I just put some text, contact me through social media or through the form. I'll try my best to respond within 24 hours. And now we just need to check this change this social media. So what we're not going to use Dribble. We're just going to do YouTube, Instagram, and we're going to do Twitter. I'm going to just paste in these links and Instagram, save that, and we go back and we reload. You see we have each of these, and if you click on them, they lead to your social media, in this case my YouTube channel. This form does not work. Obviously you need to set up some backend. There is a way you can plug in MailChimp into Foundation's backend, but for this tutorial we're just doing front end, so we're not going to do that. But we're going to go ahead and look at the form, and you can change the placeholder so it says type here, or we can just say message here. And if we go back and reload, instead of Ola at designer, it's going to say message here. Now we have a simple portfolio made in Foundation right here, and it looks pretty good, and it's pretty good for a starter portfolio. Even if you don't have much experience with Foundation or with any of these, you still can make a pretty good portfolio using an HTML template in Foundation. You're probably wondering, great, I can build a website with a template. I know all the factors of Foundation and all of its responsiveness, but how do I build a website from scratch? And that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So right now we're going to build a website from scratch. So completely no templates, no copying and pasting, all just pure code. So we're going to open up a new tab in Atom, and we're going to open the project as Foundation. We're just going to open up our Foundation, and then we're just going to exit out of all of these tabs, and we're going to keep this untitled tab right here. And we're going to press Control-Shift-S, and then we're going to name this one portfolio.html, and we're going to save that, and then we're going to make Control-N, and then we're going to put Control-Shift-S, and we're going to name this one style.css. This is going to be our new folders for this new website we're going to make. We're going to keep the old folders just so we can refer back to other elements of Foundation if we ever need to. So what we're going to do first, we're just going to type in some basic HTML. Just type in the words HTML. It should shortcut to just this nice 10 lines of code. We'll give you just the head, title, body, and closing and opening HTML tags. We're going to give HTML a class called no-js. We're going to add some more meta tags, so we're just going to go meta, meta tag, and we're gonna set HTTP equivalent, set it to x equals UA and then dash compatible, and then we're gonna set content IE equals edge. Save that, and after that we're gonna add another meta tag. Its name is going to be viewport like that, and then we're gonna set content to width equals device width, and then we're gonna add a comma. We're gonna set initial scale equal to 1.0, and that should be it for that meta tag. And now we're gonna give it a title. We're gonna call this portfolio. Save that. And now we're gonna link in our links. So we're gonna just put link tag, gonna keep style sheet, and we're gonna put in CSS / foundation .css, and after that we're gonna put another link, and it's gonna be the same thing except for it's gonna be CSS / app CSS. That way it has CSS for mobile too. After that we're gonna link our style sheet that's up here right now. So we're just gonna put in link, and then it's gonna be just style.css because we didn't put it in any folders. As you see here, it's out right here in the open. It's not in any folders. So that should set up our head part. Now we're gonna go into the actual code for the body. So we're going to start off with a div. We're going to call it title bar, and then we're going to add another div. We're going to give it a class of title bar left. So title bar left, because we're going to have a title bar on the left. And we're going to add another div, and the class is going to be off canvas and then position left. So we're basically making a off canvas menu kind of thing, so that when you're on mobile, it can work for off canvas as well. And then we're gonna add an ID, an ID be equal to off canvas left. And then we're gonna add a data off canvas, like that. Now inside of here, we're gonna add an unordered list. We're gonna give this unordered list a class, and it's gonna be submenu, menu, and then vertical. So it's a vertical menu, and then it's gonna have data submenu. Now we're gonna add list item, and inside of these list items are gonna be links. So we're gonna copy this now, and we're gonna paste it 5 times or 4 times, and you should have 5 link menus. Now you're just gonna put home, skills, projects, about, and then contact. So we can navigate through them later. We're just gonna put home, skills, projects, about, and contact. And this, we're gonna put IDs in these sections down further into the website so we can navigate to them when we do get there, but we're not there just yet. So after this unordered list, we're gonna put a div, and inside of here we're gonna put a button, and we can just take out or we don't have to take out any of this. We're gonna put data-toggle, and then it's gonna equal off canvas left, and we don't need the div in this class right here, so we can just take that out just to organize it. And then we're gonna give this a class, not a colon, class of menu-icon, and then we don't need this type, or actually no, we don't need this name. After that, we're gonna put a span. It's gonna have a class of title bar title. We're gonna put portfolio inside of there. So inside of the body, we're gonna put a div, and inside of this div, we're gonna give it an ID of home. And this is what I was talking about up here. So when you click the home, it's going to lead you down to this div. And then we're going to give it a class of hero-section. And hero-section is not in Foundation. So we're going to add our own personal CSS. That's why we made the file earlier. But we'll get to that in a second. Inside of here, we're gonna put another div, and we're gonna put the class as hero dash section dash text, and then we're gonna put h1, and we're gonna put your name, or in this case my name. And then we're gonna do an h5. We're gonna do front end web developer. Now obviously you can add this to whatever you do. This is just for the tutorial. And so what we need to do now is we need to stylize this. So you're gonna go up and click on your CSS file. If it's not there, you can click this little arrow and click style.css, and it'll bring you there. So what we're gonna do first, we're gonna do hero. We're gonna hero dash section and go like that. Now before I start typing, realize that it may seem like a lot of CSS, but it's 10 times shorter if you were doing it without foundation. So just have that in mind. I'm gonna do background and then URL parentheses, and I'm gonna copy and paste the image URL I found earlier. The link will be in the description, obviously. We're gonna put parentheses and just paste it in, and then at the very end we're gonna put 50% no repeat. Put a semicolon and press enter. And we're gonna do background size and then cover. We're gonna do height 96 VH, which is vertical horizontal is what that means, and then text align center. And then we're gonna do some WebKits for the Internet Explorer users. Display, gonna do dash WebKit dash flex. You're gonna do display and then ms dash flex box. You make sure you put a dash before that, and then after this we're just gonna do normal display flex, and then after that you're gonna put WebKit dash align dash items, and you can just put center, and then we're gonna tab and put ms dash flex dash align center, and then we're just gonna do normal align items center. Make sure you put semicolons after all of this. And after this, we're gonna go back from our indentation, put WebKit dash defy dash content, and then we're just put center. And then after that, we're gonna tab and put dash ms dash flex dash pack center. And after that, we're just gonna do justify content center. And what this code basically does, all these WebKits and stuff are basically so that other users can use them as well. Sometimes it doesn't work on all computers, but the WebKits make sure that it does work on computers that use Internet Explorer, Windows Edge, or Microsoft Edge even. Sometimes web browsers like that are a little bit more complicated, so WebKits tend to help with that. And after this, we're just gonna put hero dash section, and then we're just going to add the second class hero dash section dash text, and this puts it in a hierarchy so that only text inside of the hero section will work. And then we're just going to add brackets, and we're going to add the color to FE and semicolon, and we're going to add text dash shadow 1 pixel 1 pixel 2 pixel, and then we're gonna add color to it as 0A 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 semicolon. And this is all the CSS we're gonna need for right now, so we can go back to our HTML. Now before we open it in the browser, we need to come down here and add our JavaScript. So we're gonna go in the body, we're just gonna kind of indent, so we're gonna make a script tag, and we're just gonna take out this break right here, and we're gonna put it as JS slash vendor slash jQuery JS, and we're just gonna copy this, paste it 3 more times. Should have 4 script tags. Just change this to what input, change this to foundation.js, and this one to app.js. And now it should work. If we go ahead and check our browser, you should get this looking right here. Now this is a pretty good home page. You have our own custom-made hero section, our little welcome, and if you come up here to the navigation, you get this side menu right here with all of the basically navigation of the website. And if you click home, not gonna bring this anywhere because this is already home. So, but that would work if we were to scroll down and have more parts of the website. That would work. So after this, we're gonna add another div. We're gonna give it an ID of skills, which we will use later for the navigation. And we're gonna give it a class of skills. We're gonna add an h2 with the style of text dash align dash and then colon center semicolon. Inside of here we're gonna put skills, and after this we're gonna add an h3 called HTML, and after this we're gonna add some progress bars, and that's gonna show how well we know the skill for this portfolio. We're gonna add a div. We're gonna give this class a, and it's gonna have primary progress as its class, and then role is going to be progress bar, tab index equals 0, and then we're gonna set area dash value dash now equal to, or we're gonna take out this dash and set it equal to 0. Actually, we're gonna set it equal to 25, and then we're gonna copy this and we're gonna paste it. Instead of now, we're gonna put min, and we're gonna set it to 0. We're gonna paste it again. Instead of now, we're gonna put text, and we're gonna set it equal to 25%. We're gonna paste it again, and we're gonna set max as instead of now, and we're gonna set it to 100. And then we're gonna take this back, and we're gonna press enter so there's room inside of this div. We're gonna add another div. It's gonna be called progress dash meter, and then style, we're gonna set width to 90%, and then paragraph tag, set class equal to progress dash meter dash text, and this should give us one of the progress bars. If we check our browser, we reload, we scroll down, we see we get this little progress bar down here, and then we're gonna make a div up here after skills and call it skills dash inner, and we're gonna copy the progress bar and everything with that inside of here, and then we're gonna go into our CSS tab and stylize this skills thing. So we're just gonna go skills curly bracket, and then we're gonna set height to 35 VH, and then text align center, and then background, we're gonna set it to 4D5768, and then put a semicolon, and then we're gonna set the skills inner class to width of 50%, and then margin left 25%, and then padding bottom 5 pixels. And what this basically does is it takes the normal hero section and makes it smaller, and then everything inside of it is going to be centered in the middle inside of a smaller box. You go to your browser and reload, you should see it like so that this is like all one section, and then the progress bars are in a smaller section inside of it. And that's what the skills inner class is for. So now we can basically copy and paste everything from the H3 HTML tags down to the end of the primary progress. So we're just gonna copy this and paste it 3 times like that, and then we're gonna change this to CSS3 and this one to JavaScript ES6. And then if you want, you can change, you probably should change each of these. So let's say CSS is only 85%, and we change the text down here, so 85%. And then JavaScript, let's say it's only 75%. Or just change these values down here. And if you go to your browser and you reload, you should have 3 more progress bars with different values in them, or the values you set to it. So here it shows that HTML is known 90%, and I know CSS3 85% of the way, and JavaScript ES6 about 75% of the way. Now this is just hypothetical for this portfolio, but you can change these values to whatever you'd like. So after all these divs, we're going to put a div, we're going to give it a class of projects, and then we're going to give it an ID of projects. Go down here and save that. And inside of here, we're going to give it a div and a class called project-box. And then we're going to do a tag or an anchor tag. Inside of the anchor tag, you're going to do an image. Now, I found this image offline. If you want it, it's down in the description along with everything else. And so I just copied the image address and I pasted it. And now we're going to add some alt text of portfolio. After that, you're going to put an H2 tag. You're going to set the style to text-align center, and then we're just going to put project as filler. We're going to do personal blog, and then after this we're going to copy this project box 2 more times. We're going to change the text from personal blog to JavaScript bookmarker. And then we're just going to do portfolio, because I have a second portfolio. And if we go ahead and check our browser, so before we check the browser, we're going to go to our style.css and we're going to make a projects and project dash box, and we're going to style these. So for this one, we're going to display flex, make sure it's a semicolon, and we're going to justify content into the center. We're going to do flex direction, and we're going to do row, and then flex wrap, and then we're going to do wrap. That way, if the browser gets smaller, it will wrap and make it into a column instead of row. And then we're just going to set the height to 100%. And down in the project box, we're going to do margin 15 pixels. We're going to do width 250 pixels and height 250 pixels. We're going to do border. We're going to do border radius 25 pixels, and then background color is going to be black. Make sure you set this project box to image. I forgot about that, so the styling won't work correctly without the image. That's just targeting the image part of the box. We're going to go ahead and change JavaScript bookmarker because it's kind of a long title, and we're just going to put JS bookmarker and reload, and you should have it looking like this. Now you can obviously switch out the pictures. I just used the same one for all 3 just for convenience. You should probably change each one of these to your own pictures of your actual project, but for now this is good. After this, we're going to add a div, and we're going to call it we're going to give it a class of about, and we're going to give it an ID of about. And then we're going to put a div inside of it and give it a class of about box. I'm going to put an H2 tag in here, call it about, and then a paragraph tag, and then I'm going to copy and paste my about from earlier. So I'm going to just paste that in here and then go back. And now we're going to go into the styling, and we're going to add a class of about and about box. I'm going to set the height to 35 VH, not 25, 35, and then we're going to set text align center. We set background color. For the background color, we're just going to use the same color we did for skills. We're just going to paste it down here in semicolon. We're going to display flex. We're going to align items and then into the center. And then we're going to go down to the about box. We're going to give it a background color. We're going to set it to 5E47 99 semicolon, and then border radius 25 pixels, and then height of 20 VH, make sure semicolon, and then width is going to be 50%, and then we're going to margin left about 25 pixels or percent, and just add a little bit of a padding bottom of 5 pixels. Change this 47 to 74. I messed up there. It will give you purple if you type in 47, so make sure it's 74. You should get this blue color if you reload, like this. And it gives you a nice soft kind of grayish blue color that kind of looks nice on the eyes and also matches these pictures, which I did not plan. If you don't like the color scheme, you can always change it. There wasn't too much designing going into this website. It was mostly just to test every foundation function. Now, one more thing, we're just gonna add another about box. So about dash box, comma, paragraph tag, and we're just gonna set the padding on this for 5 pixels. If you go back to your browser and you reload, you see it just gives a nice padding to the text of so you can read it. So after this, we're gonna give it another div. We're gonna add the class to contact. We're gonna give it an ID of contact. It's just gonna be an h2 of contact. I just put user at domain for the email. This is gonna be email, just because I'm not gonna put my actual email, but you guys should put your actual email if you want your employer to contact you. Also, you don't have to put email. Sometimes it might get confusing, it might annoy the user. And then we're just gonna put paragraph, and we're gonna put a phone number. So I'm just putting some random numbers. So actually we're just gonna go 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. And like that. I don't know if that's a real phone number, I wouldn't find out. And after this, we're gonna go to our style, and we're gonna add a class of contact. We're gonna set a background color to hashtag 006 EAD, and then we're gonna set a height of 20 VH, and then text align center. And then after that, if you check your browser and you reload, you should have this little blue thing down here, contact, and then email and phone number. And obviously style is that easier. This is just like looking like kind of a call out kind of. After your body, and you're gonna type in a footer tag. And now we're gonna just make a quick little footer just for convenience. And it's just gonna say shadow tech. I copied and pasted a copyright sign offline, and you can just save that. You're gonna go back to your style, and you're just gonna add footer, and then you're just gonna do text align center, and then just set a background color, and for convenience just gray. And after that, if you check your website, you should have a fully completed simple portfolio that was made completely from scratch, completely from foundation, and it was only in about 80 lines of CSS and around roughly 92 lines of HTML, which is very small for a portfolio. Our HTML template was way more than that, and this is a lot more than the template as well. So you get more for less, basically. So more content for less lines of code for both portfolio and CSS. So now that you've built your website in Foundation, there's a few more things that I think you guys should check out because they're kind of cool and it might be useful. So if you go to Foundation's website and you click Getting Started, and then you click Sites, you see you get this little page here. And this is where we found the HTML templates, and there's some other things called building blocks. Now, as it may seem, you can literally click See Code and add this to your website, and you can basically give ratings based off of, you know, like what you would be rating it on. Basically, like, you can copy this code, click copy, and just paste each one in, and you'd have to add your own JavaScript through a script tag inside of your website, but that shouldn't be much of a problem. And it basically gives you all the code for the the building block is. So in this case, it's a star rating block, and these are created by other people. As you see, this person made this, but you can have your own profiles, I guess. But if you go back, there's different things. So you can go to navigation. You can have these cool little navigations that people have made in Foundation. Status. You can add status alerts and graphs and stuff. You can also do control. You can see social icons. There's a lot of social buttons. Let's look at the social buttons. Easy. So you can literally copy which parts you want. So if I only wanted Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and Instagram, I would just copy these and then just copy all this, because if you want to add more, you can add more. And basically you take out which links you want out, and you can link in your own social media inside of these hashtags. There's also mobile dashboards. And instead of making our own hero, we could have gone here and just clicked full screen hero and copied this code down here, and could have done it that way. But we decided to make it our own since we were creating our own website from scratch. But if you do want to make another hero, you can just come in here to the building blocks and find full screen hero and just edit it that way. Now if you go back, we go back all the way to where it says HTML templates. You're going to click resources, and down here there's all sorts of add-ons for Angular and for text editors and WordPress, all this back-end stuff. And this is where we would connect the back-end with like our buttons and stuff. Where is it? Down here with Django, Meteor, .NET, and it looks like other back-end stuff like Flask for Python, PHP, SAS Foundation. Anyway, up here you can see there's icon fonts, which is just some like random stuff I guess you could put into your website. SVG icons, so like social media icons. And if you click getting started, this is where we downloaded. You can click kitchen sink and obviously go through kitchen sink. You click home, it gives you like a description of how Foundation works. So 50% code reduction, so half the size of Foundation 5. This is Foundation 6, so they've upgraded it. And if you keep scrolling through, you can read all about their development and how Foundation is apparently the best front-end framework that's responsive in the world, is what they claim. So throughout this entire course, or crash course, we've learned a lot, and let's go over what we have learned. So we went through all of Kitchen Sink, which gave us every element of Foundation all in one, let's say, document, and we saved that website just as Foundation. After that, we went on to HTML templates, and we basically learned how Foundation is structured using one of their templates, and we edited the template so that it looks like our personal portfolio. And then after that, we basically made our own portfolio from scratch, and we made it so that we coded the entire thing. We basically coded the entire portfolio from scratch, not using any templates or anything, just using Foundation. And it gave us a 50% code reduction from the normal portfolio without Foundation. So basically, that's all for Foundation. I know this was kind of a long crash course, especially just for Foundation, but I made sure that you guys got all the content of Foundation. So don't forget to leave a like down below. It helps a lot. And comment down if you have any questions. If I left something out, I'd be happy to help down in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. The social media is above me. Go ahead and follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on GitHub. All links are down in the description. All the image URLs, the HTML templates, Foundation's website, and you can even view the portfolio that I made in this tutorial on my GitHub. And yeah, don't forget to expand your creativity.